It started like any other late-night spectacle, cameras humming, the energy of a live audience filling the studio air. The lights were warm, the crowd eager, and the star of the evening, Jennifer Lopez, stepped onto the stage in a dazzling emerald green gown. Applause thundered, cheers echoed, and for a brief moment, it seemed like Hollywood magic was in full swing. But no one, neither the millions of viewers at home, nor the audience packed into the studio, could have predicted how quickly that illusion would shatter. This wasn't just another celebrity interview. This wasn't playful banter, or a standard late-night laugh fest. This was something far more intense. This was the night Jennifer Lopez would walk off Jimmy Kimmel's set, leaving a stunned studio in absolute silence, and sending shockwaves through the entertainment world. It was supposed to be simple. Routine. One of Hollywood's biggest stars, sitting across from one of television's sharpest talk show hosts. Yet, what unfolded was a brutal reminder of how easily things spiral when lines are crossed and respect evaporates. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping tale, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because what you're about to hear is so shocking, you'll want to stay for every searing second of it. The Tuesday night taping kicked off like clockwork. The cameras rolled, the audience roared, and Jimmy Kimmel flashed his signature grin. Jennifer Lopez, radiant as ever, took her seat, gracefully crossing her legs, adjusting her hair with practiced elegance, and beaming at the audience. Jimmy leaned forward, enthusiasm dripping from his tone. "Jennifer Lopez, everybody," he announced, his hands gesturing broadly as applause rained down. "Thank you so much for being here tonight, J.Lo. You look absolutely incredible, as always." Jennifer's smile gleamed under the studio lights. "Thank you, Jimmy. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this." "So have we," Jimmy replied, shuffling through his cue cards like a seasoned pro. "So much to talk about. Your projects, your music, your business empire." But then came the pivot. The sentence that shifted the room's atmosphere. "But first," Kimmel continued, "I have to ask about something that's been flooding the tabloids." Jennifer's smile faltered, just a flicker. Her poise remained, but the sparkle in her eyes dulled ever so slightly. A subtle shift only the sharpest observers would catch. "Oh, here we go," she said, forcing a light laugh that barely masked her unease. "What are they saying now?" Jimmy chuckled, but it was different this time. Less friendly, more pointed. "You know how it goes. People talk. I'm curious about your reaction to some recent chatter about your performances. Some people are saying you're not bringing the same energy you used to." Silence blanketed the studio, the crowd sensing something off. Jennifer's smile became tighter, her fingers curling ever so slightly around the armrest of her chair. "Excuse me?" Jennifer asked, her tone pleasant but laced with steel. "What exactly are you referring to? Because the people I perform for, the teams I work with, they've been nothing but supportive." Jimmy's grin stretched wider, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's be honest here. You're not 25 anymore. Maybe it's time to adjust expectations. Maybe focus more on your businesses, instead of chasing after artists half your age." Gasps were audible from the audience. The playful vibe was dead. An icy tension descended on the studio. Jennifer's jaw tightened, knuckles whitening against the chair. Her smile remained barely. "Are you seriously questioning my ability because of my age?" Jimmy shrugged, tone smug. "Hey, just asking what everyone's thinking. I mean, the clips don't lie. Some moves aren't as sharp, some vocals not as crisp. I'm just asking if you've noticed." Jennifer's professional mask stayed in place, but cracks were forming. Her posture stiffened, her breathing slowed, a storm brewing beneath her calm exterior. Her response came slow, deliberate, each syllable sharpened like a blade. "Jimmy, I've been in this industry for 3 decades. I've sold out arenas, dominated box offices, and built global brands. You think I'll sit here while you disrespect me on national television?" Jimmy leaned in, more amused than apologetic. "Look, I respect everything you've done, really. But aging in Hollywood is real. Everyone faces it eventually." Jennifer's back straightened. Her stare hardened. "You want reality? Here's reality. I'm at my peak. I work harder than people half my age. And you? You're pushing me for cheap ratings." The audience sat frozen, unsure if they should clap, cheer, or retreat into silence. But Jimmy pressed forward. Oblivious. Or reckless. "Maybe it's time to be realistic," he said, condescension dripping from every word. "At some point, don't you think pretending to be Jenny from the block gets a little desperate?" The word detonated like a bomb. Jennifer's smile vanished. Her hands unclenched, her body leaned forward, and her eyes, those fierce, unrelenting eyes, locked onto Kimmel with the force of a thunderstorm. The studio turned into a pressure cooker. The question wasn't if Jennifer Lopez would retaliate. It was how hard. And Jimmy Kimmel? He had no idea the tidal wave he had just unleashed. The room was frozen. Jennifer Lopez didn't blink. Her eyes stayed locked on Jimmy Kimmel, the weight of her silence louder than any shouted comeback. That one word, desperate, had detonated like a grenade in the heart of the studio, and now everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Her voice, when it finally came, was low, controlled. But beneath it? Fire. "Did you just call me desperate?" she asked slowly, her voice slicing through the silence like glass. Kimmel chuckled nervously, the grin on his face faltering ever so slightly. "I mean, if the shoe fits," he shrugged, attempting to deflect with humor. But it wasn't funny. Not anymore. Jennifer didn't laugh. Instead, her smile twisted into something else. Something colder. "Is that what this is now?" she asked, her voice still calm, but every syllable landing like a punch. "You ambush me with questions about my age. You imply I should stop doing what I love because I'm not in my 20s anymore. And now you're calling me desperate on national television." Kimmel waved a hand toward his messy pile of note cards. "Hey, I didn't write the headlines," he muttered defensively. "People are already talking about it. I'm just asking the questions." That smug tone, that patronizing, dismissive shrug, was gasoline to a flame. Jennifer leaned forward in her seat, unhooking her legs and shifting from composed guest to something far more dangerous. A woman who had nothing left to hold back. "You mean the tabloid garbage that people like you love to quote without fact-checking?" she shot back. "The same nonsense peddled by people who've never stepped foot on a stage, but love to criticize from the safety of a keyboard?" Kimmel raised his eyebrows. "Wow. Okay. I didn't know this was such a sensitive topic." "Sensitive?" Jennifer's voice cracked like thunder. "This isn't about being sensitive, Jimmy. This is about respect. Something you clearly don't understand." The audience shifted uncomfortably. The energy in the room had changed. Gone was the laughter, the clapping, the buzz. Now there was only tension. Pure, suffocating tension. Still, Jimmy kept pushing. "I'm just trying to have an honest conversation," he said, but now his voice wavered. Jennifer's expression darkened. "Honest? Don't insult my intelligence. This isn't honesty. This is a power trip. You want to look edgy? You want to go viral? So you tear down a woman on your show, on live TV, thinking I'll sit here and take it. I've had plenty of women on this show," Kimmel snapped, now clearly rattled. "And I've never had a problem like this. Maybe the issue isn't me. Maybe you just can't handle a little criticism." The words echoed through the room. Jennifer stared at him. Then she smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a guest trying to be polite. It was the smile of a woman who had just made a decision. "A little criticism," she said softly. "Jimmy, I've been handling men, like you since I was 16 years old. Men who try to undermine me, dismiss me, make me feel small, because they're intimidated by women who don't need their approval." The audience was dead silent. Even the crew had stopped moving. The cameras kept rolling, but everything else seemed frozen in time. Jennifer stood. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor as she rose, towering over the desk, over Jimmy, over the entire studio. She looked down at him, her emerald dress glinting under the stage lights, her presence so commanding it felt like the air itself was bowing to her. "You know what the real issue is here," she said, combat cutting. "The real issue is that you're a small, insecure man hiding behind a desk and a cue card. You think tearing down a successful woman makes you look smart. It doesn't. It makes you look pathetic." Kimmel's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Jennifer took a step closer. The room held its breath. "You've made a career out of mocking people," she continued. "But tonight, you picked the wrong woman. I didn't build my name, my legacy, by letting men like you talk down to me. And I sure as hell won't start now." Kimmel tried to regain control, his voice rising slightly. "Come on, let's not do this. This is still my show." That was his mistake. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "Your show," she repeated, her voice sharp. "Jimmy, this may be your name on the sign, but tonight, right now, everyone in this room knows exactly who's in control. And it's not you." Gasps rippled through the audience. Some people had started recording with their phones. Others were frozen, watching history unfold in real time. Jimmy shrank back in his chair. Jennifer's voice grew stronger, fiercer. "You think you're clever? You think this is entertainment? You just showed the world who you really are. a man who uses his platform to belittle powerful women because he doesn't have the guts to celebrate them. Kimmel finally found his voice again, weak and defensive. Let's just calm down. We can talk about your new movie, your music, whatever you want. Jennifer's laugh was cold. Now you want to talk about my work? After you've spent the last 10 minutes insulting everything I've built. I'm trying to give us both a way out, Kimmel said, almost pleading now. We can salvage this. Jennifer shook her head. No, Jimmy. You made your choice when you decided to disrespect me on your turf. Now I'm making mine. She turned slightly, addressing the studio, the audience, the millions of viewers who would soon be watching this clip on repeat across every platform imaginable. You all saw what happened here tonight, she said clearly. This is what it looks like when a woman stands her ground. When she refuses to be torn down by a man who thinks he can get away with saying anything just because he's sitting behind a desk. She looked back at Jimmy. Her final words weren't shouted, they were whispered. But they hit harder than any scream. And Jimmy, she said, leaning in just enough for the camera to capture every syllable. You should remember this moment. Because it's the night everyone realized the real joke is you. Then she walked. Graceful. Defiant. Unshaken. Her heels clicked with every step as she moved off the set, through the stunned silence, past the blinking cameras and the wide-eyed crew. She didn't look back. Not once. And as the studio doors closed behind her, Jimmy Kimmel sat alone, surrounded by silence. And the world was watching. Behind the cameras, chaos was erupting. Crew members exchanged wide-eyed glances. Producers whispered frantically into their headsets. The audience sat frozen, trying to process what they'd just witnessed, while their phones captured every second, every word, every brutal takedown. But in the eye of the storm, Jimmy Kimmel sat motionless. Alone at his desk, the smile that once seemed glued to his face now completely vanished. His lips were pressed into a thin line, his hands awkwardly fidgeting with the stack of now useless cue cards. He looked utterly defeated. Jennifer Lopez didn't just leave the interview. She detonated his show. And everyone knew it. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jimmy cleared his throat. His voice cracked slightly as he forced out. Well, that was Jennifer Lopez, everyone. It fell flat. Not a single clap. Not a single cheer. Just uncomfortable shifting in seats, and the soft mechanical hum of studio equipment. Jimmy tried to push forward, desperate to reclaim even a sliver of control. We'll be right back after this, he mumbled, but it was hollow, like he knew no one was going to be tuning in after the break. The screen cut to commercial. But by then it was too late. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips from the confrontation flooded TikTok, Instagram, and X. The hashtags #J.Lo owns Kimmel, #TalkShowTakedown, and #RespectJennifer started trending globally. Every news outlet from TMZ to the New York Times scrambled to cover the unfolding scandal. Comment sections erupted. She stood up for every woman who's ever been disrespected. Kimmel just ended his own career in 15 minutes. This is what it looks like when you underestimate a powerhouse like J.Lo. And through it all, Jennifer didn't say a single word online. She didn't need to. Her silence spoke volumes. But back in the studio, Kimmel was unraveling. The next guest, a rising young actor, was ushered out quietly. There was no recovering the energy of the night. The remainder of the episode was cancelled. The crew wrapped early. Sponsors started pulling calls. In the green room, Kimmel paced back and forth, phone glued to his ear, trying to contain the fallout. We'll release a statement, he said frantically. We'll say it was scripted, a bit gone wrong. We can spin this, right? His agent wasn't convinced. Jimmy, that wasn't a bit. That was career suicide, broadcast live. Meanwhile, Jennifer was already halfway across town, reclining in the back seat of her sleek black SUV. Her team sat around her, phones blowing up with messages of support from A-list celebrities, media power players, and fans from every corner of the world. Rihanna just texted, her publicist said, reading aloud. She said, Queen Energy. Every second of that was iconic. Jennifer smiled faintly, her reflection glowing in the tinted glass of the window. Send her my love, she said softly, her voice calm, her posture regal. Her phone buzzed again, this time from her manager. Netflix wants a meeting tomorrow morning, he said. And Variety just offered you the cover story for next week. Jennifer simply nodded, her demeanor cool and collected. Book it. Back at the network headquarters, boardrooms were in full-blown crisis mode. Executives huddled around conference tables, watching reruns of the confrontation, analyzing every second. "We underestimated Lopez," one of the higher-ups muttered. Another, a veteran producer, shook his head in disbelief. "No," he said. "Jimmy underestimated her. And now we all have to clean up the mess." Petitions were already circulating. Activists called for accountability. Female celebrities, politicians, and industry leaders were rallying behind Jennifer with the hashtag #RespectWomenInMedia, gaining unstoppable momentum. By morning, the headlines were merciless. Jennifer Lopez eviscerates Kimmel in live TV showdown. The night Jennifer Lopez changed the talk show game forever. Kimmel faces career crisis after J.Lo walkout. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Late-night ratings plummeted. Advertisers backed away. Jimmy's next scheduled tapings were abruptly cancelled. Rumors of internal investigations swirled, with insiders leaking that producers were reconsidering his future at the network. And Jennifer? She was ascending. The very next evening, she walked into a sold-out arena to a deafening ovation. Fans held up signs that read, "We stand with J.Lo," and "Queen Energy only." As she took the stage, she didn't need to say a single word about the controversy. Her presence said it all. In a matter of 24 hours, she turned public humiliation into complete domination, standing taller, stronger, and more respected than ever before. Meanwhile, Jimmy sat at home, scrolling through a never-ending flood of criticism, watching his career burn in real time. And somewhere deep down, he realized, Jennifer Lopez didn't just walk out on his show. She walked out with the entire world behind her. And he was left alone with the consequences of his own downfall. The message was clear. Never mistake grace for weakness. Never mistake silence for compliance. And never, ever, underestimate Jennifer Lopez. The days that followed would be remembered in Hollywood history as a complete paradigm shift. Jennifer Lopez didn't just win the battle. She changed the entire landscape of celebrity interviews. By Friday, every major media outlet had dissected the infamous Kimmel clash. Analysts called it a defining moment of power dynamics in entertainment. Industry veterans described it as the night the talk show format was permanently disrupted. Kimmel's team scrambled to regain footing, pushing out a feeble apology video late Friday evening. Sitting in a sterile room, under artificial lighting, Jimmy spoke directly to camera. His usual smug confidence replaced with a hollow, awkward tone. "I just want to say, if I came across as disrespectful, that was never my intention. I'm sorry if anyone, especially Jennifer, felt offended. The internet wasn't buying it. The comments under the video were brutal. Not if. You did disrespect her. Damage control too late. Career over. Jennifer Lopez doesn't need your apology, she ended you." Jennifer, meanwhile, stayed silent. And that silence thundered louder than any response. Saturday morning, she appeared radiant on the cover of Variety under the headline, "Unshaken. Unstoppable." The interview inside didn't mention Jimmy Kimmel by name. She didn't have to. The message was in her smile, in her elegance, in her unwavering poise. Hollywood took notice. Talk show producers began scrambling to adjust their scripts. Publicists issued stricter guidelines for celebrity interviews. Executives ordered mandatory respect clauses into guest appearance contracts. The power shift was seismic. By Monday, Jimmy Kimmel's show was indefinitely suspended. The network issued a sterile press release citing internal restructuring and a time of reflection for the host. Privately, it was an open secret, Kimmel's reign was over. Behind the scenes, Jennifer's phone didn't stop ringing. New offers poured in, multi-million-dollar deals, global endorsements, more Netflix original films, fashion campaigns. Brands didn't just want her. They wanted her strength, her voice, her fearlessness. And Jennifer, ever strategic, accepted only the offers that aligned with her newfound narrative. Empowerment, resilience, unshakable dignity. Meanwhile, across late-night circuits, the atmosphere shifted. Male hosts who once mocked women's careers on air were now visibly more cautious. They avoided disrespect, they pivoted from personal jabs, they focused on professional achievements. The ripple effect reached beyond television. Female artists across industries began speaking out about their own experiences. Jennifer's confrontation ignited a wider cultural reckoning, one where the days of belittling successful women for ratings were numbered. Kimmel, who once relished poking fun, now faced isolation. His colleagues distanced themselves. Former guests shared horror stories of similar disrespectful treatment. Brands that once funded his show pulled sponsorships, issuing polite but firm statements about aligning with positive role models. By the time Jennifer took the stage at the American Music Awards just a few weeks later, she was no longer just an icon. She was a symbol. Dressed in an electrifying crimson gown, she stood tall before an adoring crowd. The applause lasted nearly 5 minutes before she could even begin her acceptance speech. "I've always believed," she began, "that no matter where you are in life, you should be treated with respect. This year reminded me that standing up for yourself isn't just important, it's necessary." The stadium roared. And to every woman watching, never let anyone tell you you're too old, too irrelevant, or too anything. You are enough. You always have been. Tears glistened in the eyes of young girls, seasoned stars, and industry veterans alike. Her words weren't just inspiration, they were a battle cry. The camera briefly cut to Taylor Swift clapping enthusiastically, Beyoncé nodding in agreement, and Oprah giving a standing ovation. Jennifer finished her speech with the same quiet authority she showed that night on Kimmel's set. "And to the people who try to silence us, remember, you can't mute power. You can't erase respect. And you sure as hell can't stop women from shining." The audience erupted into thunderous applause as Jennifer raised her award high, a smile of quiet triumph playing across her face. In the weeks that followed, talk shows reshaped, media adjusted, and Hollywood learned its lesson. The entertainment world had been warned. Grace doesn't equal weakness. And as for Jimmy Kimmel, his desk sat empty, his lights dimmed, his name fading from billboards. Jennifer Lopez didn't just walk out of an interview. She walked into history. And no one, especially not Jimmy Kimmel, would ever forget it. If you were shocked by this explosive moment, smash that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered Hollywood drama. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Jennifer right to walk off, or did Jimmy get what he deserved? You won't want to miss the next wild celebrity showdown.